Go back to home, back to Godhead. An essential subject from Vinipedra Prabhupada encourages all people to go back to home, back to Godhead, and eat, drink and be merry in Krishna's company. He explains succinctly that this is our process. How unfortunate we are if we are unable to accept this magnanimous offer. We are being invited by the authorized representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to end all of our suffering and live a life of uninterrupted bliss. Srila Prabhupada's books, lectures, conversations and letters offer a comprehensive presentation of this essential subject as seen in the Vinikotes Go Back to Home, Back to Godhead category. An introduction from his books is given below in the following 12 quotes. Quotes from Srila Prabhupada's books. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. That we have discussed in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore his future is very bright. Bhagavad Gita 10.45 The real purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead, and live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, play with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and eat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 8.24 52. One who is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, should not contemplate the attractive features of women and the opulence of rich men. Such contemplation will check one's advancement in spiritual life. Once a devotee is fixed in Krishna consciousness, however, these attractions will not agitate his mind. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.2 6. The lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharya is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuhaloka in one life, without waiting for many other lives. My Guru Maharya, R.R. Madbhakta Sarasvat Gosvam Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuhaloka in this life, without waiting for another life to execute devotional service. One simply has to become as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharya. Then it is quite possible to attain Vaikuhaloka and go back home, back to Godhead, in one life. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.12 43. The king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. Hence the activities of the citizens should be so coordinated that they can at the end go back home, back to Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4 12. The Lord desires the conditioned souls hovering in the material creation to be reclaimed to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus he helps them by preparing the transcendental literatures like the Vedas, by sending missionaries of saints and sages and by deputing his representative, the spiritual master. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.12 16. One has to take advantage of this knowledge and mold his life in such a way that at the end, especially in the human form of life, he may go back home, back to Godhead, by practicing Krishna consciousness. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.21 27. One should try to purchase a ticket to go back home, back to Godhead. The price of such a ticket is one's intense desire for it, which is not easily awakened, even if one continuously performs pious activities for thousands of lives. Kaitanya Karatam Ta, DLL 1.56. Even if one has no assets of favorable austerity, if he nevertheless takes shelter of the Madhyams, who are engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, he is sure to make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 11.55 Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Spiritual Personality and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.7 20. Human life is specifically meant for going back home, back to Godhead. That facility should be given to everyone, whether one be a Dra, a Vaya, a woman or a Kshatriya. This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.26 23. From within he is directing as Kshatriya Guru, or the spiritual master sitting within the heart. Indirectly he is also helping the living entity by manifesting himself as the spiritual master outside. In both ways the Lord is giving directions to the living entity so that he may finish up his material activities and come back home, back to Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.22 37.